Conspiracy time on this one, okay? You got the Biden student loan forgiveness, okay? He announced this a while back, conveniently right before the midterms. Not anything before that. It wasn't a campaign promise or anything like that, okay? So you don't need to hold him to that. Obviously. Yeah, he just came out, I'm getting rid of $10,000 student loan debt for everybody. I'll just go ahead and forgive it and whatever. Just file it out here. Even though, way before that, okay, Nancy Pelosi, at the time and currently still, the Speaker of the House, she came out and said that's not something that the president can do. And it's like, okay, cool. So Joe Biden knew that was something he couldn't do, but he had it down on the record so that it was an opportunity for people to just stupidly continue to clap and agree with the president of the United States by just saying he's going to get rid of all of my student loan debt. Let's just continue to vote for Democrats. Even though, yeah, $10,000 student debt forgiveness, it's not an insignificant amount of money, but at the same point in time, if we continue on this current trajectory, how much is $10,000 actually going to buy you if Biden's, got his way and he continues to? Just imagine 6 years of a Biden economy. Just go ahead and ruminate on that idea for a moment. So, what do I think ultimately ends up happening with all this stuff? Well, I think Joe Biden's going to, just like the pandemic, he's going to try to make this a campaign issue for as long as possible. He's going to continue to just put this out there, okay? If you guys vote for me again or my successor in 2024, they're going to get rid of student loan debt this time. It's like, okay, well, how do you actually forgive any of the student loan debt that's out there? Try to put it through Congress first and foremost. That's about the only way that you can do this. So as of right now, I can't forgive it because those dastardly Republicans are people who are like, I ain't flipping the bill for this shit. You can go fuck off if you think taxpayers are just gonna carry the burden of a bunch of people with fucking gender studies degrees, people who can't make their fucking payments, okay? If you want to talk about overhauling the student loan program, that's a conversation to be having, okay? Should colleges and universities, especially for the superfluous degrees that they offer at this point in time, be that expensive? Should we look at the institutions themselves having their prices lowered and, stopping all of the fluff and the bulk that makes those prices so goddamn high because there's so many stupid projects and stupid programs that are in there that make it so overbearing and broad? Well, that's a conversation to be having at the same time, but no. Just get rid of debt and continue this perpetual cycle for the people that don't qualify for the relief or people who don't capitalize on it, okay? It's the exact same thing whenever you see a website that's out there, okay? All you need to do is just type in the promotion code SAVE25 or something like that. You get a 25% discount. All they do is just jack up their prices by about 25%, and then they just put in a nice little graphic with yellow or red, the two most eye-catching colors for associated with sales. That's marketing jargon or whatever, okay? And then it just looks like you're getting a big deal, but you only get the deal if you type in the promo code correctly. So at the end of the day, they just end up making the same money they were going to get to begin with, but then they just hype up all of the hysteria to just drive interaction, okay? But then there's also going to be those people that are going to forget to put in the promo codes and that they just end up making money off of something that's supposedly a sale at the end of the day. That's what Joe's doing by not completely getting rid of all student debt. You're still going to have to continue to pay because I forget even like the average amount of money somebody needs to take out for like a 4-year deal for a master's degree, and God forbid you're going for a PhD, like you got hundreds of thousands of dollars of student debt that you can't bankrupt out of. And it's also one of the most important leveraging tools that the federal government uses. So why would they get rid of all of that stuff? It's all very interesting, and it's a very deep rabbit hole if you are to go down it. This is just something that I immediately tried to connect together because Joe Biden's entire platform, it's a bunch of platitudes and false promises, okay? Don't expect any abortion legislation, especially at the federal level, to really get decided, because we're going to need that one in our back pocket for 2024 to just talk about ad nauseum, okay? You're not going to have a pandemic or anything like that to talk about on the stage and hijack all of the debates this time around. So now it's just going to be about women's rights and student loan debt, which is just kind of redundant. Who owns what's the breakdown? 2/3 of student loan debt is carried by women. Yeah, so it's like, oh, okay, cool. This is just pandering to the Democratic base at this point, but nobody wants to call that out. So where we're at this point in time when it comes to this, okay? Joe, he's working day and night. Well, Monday to Thursday afternoon before he jets off to Delaware. He's working really hard on this stuff. So until that point in time, until all of these lawsuits eventually end up getting cleared up, we'll just go ahead and put the student loan freeze, the repayment freeze for a little bit longer. Like, oh, okay, cool. We know what time it is. The Biden administration announced on November 22nd that he will extend its moratorium on student loan payments through June 30th, 2023, as the program to cancel hundreds of billions of dollars in loans faces several court battles. Wow, he's anticipating that shit to go on for another 6 months, huh? Interesting. Federal student loan bills were slated to resume on January 1st, 2023. The loan repayments were placed on hold in early 2020 under the Trump administration, and the moratorium has been extended multiple times. Yet that was during the point in time where Trump was, it's 15 days, flatten the curve. What we'll do is we'll just sit it out. And it's like, yeah, no, he did say that stuff. But then at the exact same time, he was also the guy who's like, look at the clock is running. Okay, we need to get this economy back and running. People need to go out there and make money. But I forget the length of the initial freeze, but it was probably for 6 months. And it's not like he could extend it any longer than that, but whatever. Okay, don't know. In a news release issued on November 22nd, the Department of Education announced it would extend the repayment pause, and criticize Republican officials. Yeah, of course. Listen, we're trying to do something that we're not, legally allowed to do, but you guys are actually the meanies on this one. Okay? The moratorium will be extended until 60 days after the Biden administration is allowed to implement the plan and the lawsuits are resolved. Cool. We're extending the payment pause because it would be deeply unfair to ask borrowers to pay a debt that they wouldn't have to pay were it not for the baseless lawsuits brought by Republican officials and special interests. Education Secretary Miguel Cardona. No, you're just trying to go about this the wrong way, okay? Everybody knows that by the wave of a pen, Biden can't make this happen, okay? This has to be something that goes through at least Congress, and that's going to have to get decided by the Supreme Court in some form or fashion. Like, this is the shit that we were ultimately always going to end up at, so I don't know why you're bitching and complaining. Oh, right, this isn't about the truth. This is about politics. But anyways, yeah, he claims that the lawsuits filed against the debt program are callous efforts. Whatever, bro. Interest rates will remain at 0% until repayments start under the plan. So yeah, this is just procrastination. Okay, nothing's going to end up changing at the end of the day. And when all of this stuff is ultimately struck down as unconstitutional, or he doesn't have the jurisdiction to pull the trigger on this stuff, yeah, then it'll just be, once again, a campaign thing. Okay, oh, those evil Republicans didn't want to give you a $10,000 break on your worthless degrees that didn't get you anywhere. Oh man, it's all those Republicans' faults and not your poor decision-making capacities. Anyways, earlier this year, President Joe Biden announced the program would forgive up to $20,000. I thought it was $10,000. I guess he upped it. Federal student loans, although several courts have placed injunctions on this plan. Previously, he said the payment pause wouldn't be extended again, but that was before more courts halted the program. Some 26 million people already have applied for student debt relief, and 16 million were approved. Officials have said the debt forgiveness plan announced in August. Fuck, that happened all the way back then. Interesting. Would cancel $10,000 in loan debt for those making less than $125,000 or households with less than $250,000 in income. Pell Grant recipients who typically demonstrate more financial need would get an additional $10,000. Oh, okay, cool. That's where that number comes from, because it's like $10,000. I seem to remember that, but okay. Multiple lawsuits filed by groups and states sought to block the program, and the two of these challenges were successful. The Department of Education closed its loan cancellation website earlier in November and stopped accepting and processing applications following the court orders. And again, people seeking this debt forgiveness, like, these are jobs that you should theoretically be able to get $125,000 a year if you're going to school for this long, where you've racked up that much debt. But yeah, no, don't blame that. Just blame the corrupt system. Oh my God. And we need to overthrow this socialism. And it's like, cool. So the government that put you in debt by you taking out the loans from the government, and you're looking to the government to solve those problems that the government inflicted. I understand more. That makes total sense. People are fucking retarded. In a news release, Cardona didn't address arguments put forth in the lawsuits against his program. No, he just said it's all sexist and racist and it's bad. 6 Republican-led states wrote in the recent suit that the White House lacks the power to forgive student loan debt due to the Constitution's separation of power clause. Yeah, exactly. Everybody knows Joe can't do this. So even when he made the announcement, it's like, lawsuits are coming, bro. This is just Joe Biden being Joe Biden, doing things that, he can't do, okay? And then just waiting, it's like, just fucking test me. And then when people test him, it's like, they're bad for doing that. It's like somebody saying that you shouldn't punish your dog because you shit on the rug. It's like, it's my dog, fuck off. Because if I don't, well, it's just going to think that that throw rug in the middle of the living room is now all of a sudden just as good as the grass outside. Don't get mad at me for swinging the newspaper. Stop acting the fool. States wrote that they would be financially injured and billions of dollars in student debt were canceled under the program, which was unveiled by the Biden administration just weeks before the November 8th midterm elections. St. Louis-based U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals 8th Circuit on November 10th froze the plan, and federal judge in Texas also struck it down, citing the lawsuit brought by Job Creators Network Foundation. I think the tax burden for the average individual, I think I've seen it was about $2,400, would end up being placed on top of everything else. So yeah, so for the people actually out there making more money, it's like, yeah, no, that burden falls on you anymore. Hopefully you feel good about forgiving $10,000 or $20,000 in student debt. Administration on November 18th filed a lawsuit with the Supreme Court to reinstate its program, arguing it has the authority. I have the authority. You actually don't. Well, I said I do. Shut up. I gave myself the authority. It's not how it works, sir. The program was announced. Supreme Court Associate Justice Amy Coney Barrett denied to Emergency's petition to block it. The Eighth Circuit's erroneous injunctions leave millions of economically vulnerable borrowers in limbo, uncertain about the size of their debt and unable to make financial decisions with the accurate understanding of their future repayment obligations. Listen, man, like, they aren't asking for your entire paycheck at the end of the day. If you are working, you have the capacity to pay off your student loans, okay? Like, let's just stop it, okay? They don't know. They're just working paycheck to paycheck. It's like, you got a 4-year degree. You should be able to go get a fucking decent job, okay? But if you didn't, you made terrible fucking decisions. And I don't know why you're looking out for more handouts, because you're just going to find yourself in this situation. If not having to pay the government, somebody else out there, man. But that's according to U.S. Solicitor General Elizabeth Pregler, whatever, who represents the Biden administration. Yeah, get fucked. It's always a woman. The temporary halting the plan, U.S. District Judge Mark Pittman wrote in an order that it is not up to him to decide whether the program is good public policy or not. Yeah, exactly. Your emotional arguments don't play well here, stupid. But stipulated that no one can plausibly deny that this is either one of the largest delegations of legislative power to the executive branch or one of the largest exercises of legislative power without congressional authority in the history of the United States. Yeah, exactly. This is making hundreds of billions of dollars. Okay, I didn't stutter. I didn't stammer over that. That's hundreds of billions of dollars disappear like that overnight. It's like, yeah, man, one person cannot do this, okay? One person who was duly elected under the most safe and secure election of all time can't just overturn the apple cart like that. It's not quite how this shit works. There's a written list of rules that govern this country. You gotta at least pay lip service to that, my guy. Republicans said the program is likely illegal and would give more power to the Biden administration. Yeah, exactly, because if you could forgive debt for this certain circumstance, what else could you do with the purse strings of the country? They've also said it is a brazen attempt to push younger voters to the polls in favor of Democratic candidates during the 2022 midterm elections. Yep, and that's why they're just going to continue to kick this can down the road even further than that. Oh, look at guys, we tried to give you a break on your student loans, but these goddamn Republicans, man, they got in, they tied up all of the strings in the House, and we just can't forgive that. Make sure to vote blue in the next election cycle. I can see this coming from a mile away, and this is why this shit is never, ever, ever gonna get resolved. Just like, oh my god, decriminalize, legalize pot at the federal level. It's always gonna be on the ballot. It's always gonna be a campaign issue for the Democrats that are out there. They don't want to have to push that button and actually follow through on this shit. They just like campaigning on it because it's just an easy, winnable argument for that side of the aisle. Because, well, this would drag out the video even further than that. This is just realistically a very rational argument. And it's like the dollars and cents aren't there. Okay, this is a gross flex of power that cannot stand. We can't do this. But my poor people living paycheck to paycheck that went to fancy universities when, you know, trade school or community college would have sufficed. So continue to vote blue, guys, and yeah, that'll solve all the problems that are out there. So look forward to this being on the debate stage in about 2 years' time. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.